Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 10th and tonight's movie is Coming Home in the Dark. I don't know this for sure and I don't really care to check, but I believe this might be the first New Zealand movie I've ever watched for Horror Nights. Definitely New Zealand on its own, I think. So that's interesting. This is a horror slash thriller movie about a family that gets abducted by two men, and apparently this is something to do with the dad's past. This could be anything from he used to be like an assassin secret agent who did his time and decided to live on the straight and narrow, settle down, raise a family, and his past is coming back to haunt him. Or he could have just done shady business deals and took out a loan he couldn't pay back. I don't know. The trailer was kind of vague about that part. I also saw in the description that the two men are named Mandrake and his accomplice Tubbs. I know the Australians have a bunch of weird, oddly cutesy nicknames for things. I didn't know New Zealand did that too, because I don't know if in America that would be able to fly, how you would be able to take Tubbs seriously. Anyway, this was apparently the director's first movie, and it got very positively received, although that has burned me in the past. I'm gonna go check it out and tell you what I think. Overall, that was decent. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. I think one of the things that a thriller needs to do in order to be effective is to keep the audience guessing throughout the whole movie. And I think that they did an okay job with that. The motivations behind these two people and the backstory of the main man, Alan, that does keep expanding on and adjusting itself as the movie continues. First of all, there's a reason why so many movies are filmed in New Zealand. That country is gorgeous. So much great nature, these sweeping hills and these rocks and these waves. It's great. And there was a lot of that in this movie when I could see it. Yes, we are pulling out the old reliable. This movie is too dark. And not dark thematically, literally dark as in I can't see anything. Though it's not to the extent where it literally is to the detriment of the movie, like it stops you from seeing things. More like it's just something that feels pointless. There are way too many shots in this movie that are almost completely black except for 1/100th of the screen. And I really don't want to sound like a jerk, but why did they have to give the most lines by far in this movie to the actor who mumbles the most, has the thickest accent, and talks the fastest? This, I think, was even more of a problem than the darkness. The fact that I couldn't understand what they were saying for a lot of it, and I had to rewind and turn on the subtitles. If you're watching this in a movie theater or at a film festival, you don't have that option. One thing that I do think makes this more than just any old thriller is the sort of interconnectivity of this movie. There are themes that keep coming up that are relevant to the story, and the ending shot is the same as the beginning shot, which is something you don't know until you see the ending shot. There was one theme that they kept going, and they didn't need to say it for me to understand that that's what they were going for. I would also like to commend this movie for not overstaying its welcome. If you want to keep the audience on the edge of their seats, it's best to get in and get out quickly. Overall, this wasn't the best thriller I've ever seen. I've seen better, but this was certainly very well done. I would not recommend against it. I thought it was okay. And now I want to talk about some spoilers. It's interesting, the art of movie trailers, because you want to show people why they want to see the movie, but you can't give away too much. I think that it's always better to err on the side of not giving enough away as opposed to giving too much away. And the trailer certainly fooled me. I assumed that this was going to be the entire family getting out of this when both of the kids get shot and killed in 20 minutes. And I also definitely aim my sights way too high when it comes to the backstory of the father. He's not an ex-hitman or secret agent. He wasn't part of the mafia. He just used to be a teacher at a all-boys school that abused the children. No, it wasn't even a teacher. It was a teacher's assistant. So he knew about the abuse going on. He didn't really take part in any of it, or at least not that we know of. The main thing that they want to focus on is the event of a kid, they said he was 8, I think, who got his own tattoo. He made it himself using a needle and ink of a swastika on his arm. And as punishment, they got him out in front of all the other students and used a grill brush to abrade it off of his body. Alan didn't take any part of this, but he was present and he knew about a lot of the abuse, but he never told anybody about it. And this sort of is one of the underlying themes of this movie, the concept of letting something happen and how bad that is compared to doing that thing yourself. For a lot of the movie, I was wondering why Mandrake very much had a take no prisoners, leave no witnesses mentality. Like he would kill random people. I was thinking, it's like, what would they do? This is just going to like create a larger blood trail leading to you. But it didn't get until one scene where Alan's the only one left at this point. The kids are both dead, and Jill had escaped jumping off a cliff into the ocean. It's implied that she makes it out, but we don't know that for sure. But Alan does manage to escape and he runs off to, I don't even know where it is. It's like an abandoned school, maybe. It's not the school that we're talking about, like that old boys' school. They actually go to that later, but somewhere else. And there's a group of young hooligans doing donuts around a pole, and he's begging them to just help him get away. Like, let him in the car and they can drive off. There are dangerous men following them. And then Mandrake and Tubbs get there, and Mandrake says, "You don't know anything about this man. He is a bad, evil man. Do the right thing and give him to me." And I guess that the kids felt more inclined to listen to the person with a hunting rifle. And it kind of surprised me at first why, when they do give him up, he just like gets the gun and shoots them all to death one by one, except for one who manages to run away. And the only reason why he's able to get away is because the gun ran out of bullets. Then I thought, well, this is sort of a similar situation, isn't it? Something terrible is happening, and these other people, these unrelated people, these bystanders, are choosing to pick the path of least resistance because they're concerned about their own welfare and they don't want to, like, leave their lane. They don't want to rock the boat. I might be reading too much into this, but then you go on throughout the movie and you realize that this is clearly all Mandrake's idea. Tubbs is just one of his friends, I guess. And Tubbs just sort of does whatever he's told by Mandrake throughout the movie. He doesn't really talk much. And throughout the movie, Alan keeps almost taunting him, saying, "Oh, you're just going to do everything Mandrake says without question." And I think throughout the movie, that actually starts to get to Tubbs. There's a point where he starts listening to classical music on a CD in the car and he starts crying. And as the movie keeps going, you realize he's not as comfortable with this as you might originally think. And this all comes to a head at the final climax. They're back at that abandoned all boys school, and Mandrake and Alan have a scuffle, and they both get in their few hits. But I mean, Mandrake has a gun, and Alan has a rock, so clearly we know who has the upper hand. And he's like trying to shoot him a few times and missing. And in the background, you can see Tubbs walking up. And when Tubbs reaches for the gun, Mandrake gives it to him because I assume he thought that Tubbs was going to finish the job, but instead he shoots Mandrake. And he walks up to Alan with the gun. And I think Alan is expecting Tubbs to shoot him too, but instead he just says, "I hate it here," and then leaves. And that is a callback because we saw a flashback of one of the students carving that into like a block of concrete, like a mural or something. It is left intentionally ambiguous if Tubbs or Mandrake or neither is the kid who got a tattoo grill brushed off his arm. But I do think that that's something that's like a theme throughout the movie. And Tubbs making that decision is him deciding, no, I'm stepping in, I'm ending this cycle. And as I previously said, the last shot of the movie is the same as the first shot of the movie. You see a silhouette of him watching the sun go up and crying, but in the very beginning, you had no idea who this character is or what the context was, and now you do. I did think that this movie was good. I didn't think it was anything spectacular, but I could see a lot of really nice things in it. I just wish that they had worked on some of the little things more, like turn up the gamma value. I can barely see anything, but overall, not bad at all. All right, thank you for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.